So we're going to address the question whether we can learn German by pure transcription, listening exercises only with transcription. After a session in my application, you can replay, that is, revisit all of the exercises that you've done. So, having played a session earlier today in which I listened to this clip, I'll play it, but I'm not sure if my mic will pick it up. We'll give it a try.
Die nächste Dürre wird gewiss kommen.
And again.
Die nächste Dürre wird gewiss kommen.
Maybe that was clear enough. Die nächste Dürre wird gewiss kommen. In this case, the native speaker pronounces the final syllable of the verb, infinitive, kommen, very subtly, if not at all. Maybe that syllable was cut off or it's really subtle. So my ear does not quite pick it up. But I don't fully trust what I sense. My grammatical judgment says, hey, we have the verb conjugated, wird, and it pairs with an infinitive at the end of the sentence, the Satz. So if I hear only komm, die nächste Dürre wird gewiss kommen, well, it's actually, it has to be spelled out. I'm not actually typing in the text box right now, but hopefully you get the idea that in this case, thinking can actually help you hear better. Come again? I can actually hear better through thinking? Yes, I think that even if on the first failure to hear a syllable, but then to correct your transcript, say I had originally written die nächste Dürre wird gewiss kommen and was penalized. In this case, it didn't happen because I said, hey, wait a second, I need the en at the end for a kommen because, again, a conjugated modal verb or a conjugated helper verb that makes the future tense, werden as wird, obviously pairs with an infinitive, basic rule, which on its own isn't very interesting. But we see that if we gamify it, we say, hey, these rules actually help us hear in the event our ears don't work so well. The connection between the ear and the brain is faulty, or you just, you lost some information, some phonic information in the air as the speech went from another speaker to your ear, which could happen, or there was interference. You're in a city, you're in a cafe, and so on. So I believe that our judgment, the patterns to which we're customized, is repairing sentences that we only receive 40% to 50% of the actual sounds or syllables, but because we know the typical patterns of a language, like, oh, this word goes with this one, these syllables go together, because we've heard millions of sentences in our native language, that the brain is able to correct the communication over a lossy channel. This is basic information theory, and I try to cite an example by Claude Shannon in his paper, or the name of the paper, but that's the idea. And yeah, it is a metaphor based on information theory. Do you need to think all this or know all this when you're playing? Yes and no. No, and that you could keep on playing, but at a certain point in the beginning, when you might need some more motivation, when you're really not doing well in the foreign language you're studying, maybe you could remind yourself that some knowledge of grammar, which you will pick up through these exercises. Anyway, we're going on and on. So that's about it. So judgment, according to rules, or thinking, can actually help you hear. On the second or third impression that I think if the native speaker only very subtly said that final sound, I think you actually will pick it up because you'll be expecting it. Your brain-ear axis will be ready to actually receive that very subtle sound that it's simply not going to pick up when you're a beginner, or or maybe you're partially deaf and you don't know it. How can you be partially deaf and not know it? Well, you're probably dropping a lot of sounds in your native language, tones, sounds, whatever. But if you have a rich vocabulary and you know how people speak, given that 3 words were said in a row, then the 4th word is highly probable to occur. So your brain's already predicting what other speakers are going to say. And the same thing happens when you think, that you may think a thought almost in electrochemical form, such that you know the final sound. So you actually say the first few sounds in the sentence dependent on that final word, which is the crux of the sentence. Now, why say so much about one simple exercise? Well, the question supposedly was, can you learn German, or really any foreign language, through pure transcription? We're figuring that out, but you could say no, you can't. It's playing the devil's advocate, because native speakers don't pronounce everything clearly, that you need to read. You need some book knowledge, and yeah, I come to this with some book knowledge, of course. You need to have, as an adult, you need to have some instruction so you can think through it, because you can't really speak naturally like a child. You have to think in order to speak. I don't think that's entirely true, but yes. What to say? I think participation in language, speaking, listening, primarily a phonetic phenomenon, primarily phonic. Thinking plays a role, but it really should be secondary. It's just auxiliary. I don't know why I threw out synonyms, but it's how I talk. But I shouldn't talk that way. I know. But that's why we're making these painful videos, to have a great pargative act after 75 horrific attempts to speak in a way that doesn't generate a bounce or a hateful comment like, why did you recommend this to me? I don't know. Maybe you're interested in learning a language, or you just got randomly recommended a new, fresh, steaming hot sample. So hey, anything more to say? I really don't think so, and I prefer to reduce this to a short. So I forget. I'm ignorant.